We're going to start today's video with Bubba, our movie star, and this baker. Not a lot of people have heard about these wood chippers, but I've seen one work. A friend had one some years back. These came out around maybe from 2000 to like 2012, I believe, and I don't know if the company even exists anymore. They were built with a Tecumseh, and this was one of the high horsepower, high output, 8 horsepower Tecumseh motors. Needs tires. It was in sad shape like everything else I drag here. It had to be disassembled. We painted some of the parts. And let me give you some advice on this fuel tank. They're priceless, especially if you need one. You don't find many of them on the internet, and if you do, they're like $30, $40. So we have a salvage yard here that has equipment and stuff like this. I need this machine for my spring cleanup. You guys can see what my yard looks like. You can see I have these bushes, and I've needed one for a couple years. And I've just managed. What are you doing? What a cat. I've just managed to drag this home. It's in really, really good shape. It was amazing, but some boob worked on it, tore it all apart. And my video on this baker is about getting these fuel lines with the Tecumseh motor and the snow blowers and this thing. You have to cut this cooling fin out to fit the proper fuel line. It just doesn't register at the right thickness when you buy it aftermarket. And I use fuel injection line for replacing. It holds up a lot better than regular fuel line, especially with the heat these engines generate. We'll have a video on this when it's back and running. It has spark. The compression's like brand new. You're up to that's almost I believe a 9-to-1 compression on that motor. Now, I may be mistaken, but Tecumseh, my grandfather, I always say it, I had another video. My grandfather, he built me a go-kart with a Tecumseh, and literally it was a little tornado. I mean, it really ran. And he loathed kind of like Briggs and Kohler. He hated Kohler. He would accept some Briggs engines. Next subject is, this died with 92 hours on it. The compression, the engine itself is like brand new, but like everything else I get, and where do you see that? I'm getting pain saying the word Ford truck. There, I said it. I think I said it. It hurts. Oh, wow. Anyway, I hate saying that name, but I already have one, and now I have another one. So basically, it smelled like turpentine. You open that tank up, it's like a trip back in time. And this thing it's not that old. It was a 2012. And some moron decided to leave it outside and put ethanol fuel in it. And this is what I have to work with. So a lot of people, my friend's father was just here. They stopped by because he was talking to me about doing some work, another rust panel job. I just got done with one. The weather cooperated. And he said, that'll never run again. Well, his father, my buddy's father, had explained to this other guy's father that, listen, everything Uncle Dutch touches is just about like that. So we'll have a video on this once it's thoroughly disassembled, and then we'll go through what you need in process to put something like this back together, because you got to match all these little screws and stuff, and I got drawers full of shit. It's just finding the time to go through it. Anybody else that does this, that's why some of this stuff, it lays until the summer months, until you can, you got other things to do. Like this place it's literally a mess with this weather. And we got high winds moving in and thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings for tomorrow. So it's going to be a real peachy day tomorrow. But I'm probably going to need this after those high winds come through, and I've got to move stuff because it's right in the way of these trees and these big tree limbs. $100. The kid sold this. I think he knew what he had, but he just didn't have the... it was taken apart partially, and I don't think they could get that fuel line through there. I don't think they realized you have to pull this crank off of here, the coil and everything. You just got to pull everything out of there, and you got to get your whizzer or whatever in there, or whatever you can maneuver in there to chop that little piece of, like this, the vanes, the cooling vanes, heat sinks, cooling vanes, all kinds of names for those. And then it needs tires. We got tires in the box. And then what I tell you guys about buying tools, and don't buy a bag of dope when you do a job or you get a paycheck. Okay, this is stuff that I go through on a kind of a regular basis, especially these little critters. Somewhere there's a gremlin that has a pocket full of these little impacts for my impact guns. I'm down to one. I used to have how many in my possession, and I'm down to one. So this is what I spend my money on. Is I break a little chunk off when I do a job, like I got done with the rust panel job, and I ordered that carburetor and stuff like that, and I ordered the carburetor for that generator because, like I said, the compression's like brand new. The oil in it's like sludge, maple syrup, so that motor's going to get torn completely out of there. The fuel tank, I might order another one. That fuel tank is available. This is a particularly hard model of Powermate. This was one of the USA made ones. This was not the year that this was made. 2013 they went to China. I think it was 2016 or 17 they came back, and then they got bought by Coleman briefly, and now what is it? Pacama or something like that. They own them, and that motor is designed by Honda. That is a Honda. I believe it is a Chinese knockoff engine, but the machine was basically built here. Other than the because you can tell by the welds that these aren't actual Chinese welds. Those are somebody welded this manually and very sloppily. And I believe that was Coleman, because I have a few other pieces of American-made Coleman equipment, and I wouldn't give you two shits for whoever's building that stuff at Coleman. So they don't take very good pride in their work for an American company. So we'll cover those things, and then we'll get back to that Troy built. Just like this Baker might have an issue yet. I don't know if I can work beyond it, but got the Troy built 95% or 90%, and I find out the cam, the compression release on the cam is bad in the engine. And that's part of when you buy this used stuff. Yeah, the engine might be free, but the genius fooled me. He loosened the exhaust valve so I wouldn't detect when I went to turn the motor when it was sitting on. He had it on a workbench and sitting kind of cockeyed, so you really couldn't turn it too hard, but it did seem like it was free. But he loosened the exhaust valve, so Uncle Dutch thought I had a perfectly good motor, and I got the shit fooled out of me. So you got to watch out for those hustlers that know just as much as you do. But the only thing is, that John Deere there, he had the motor out of it when I was there, and then he had it running, and it didn't run right, and I should have known better. So in between the time I first saw the motor sitting on the workbench and back in the machine, I told him not to put the motor in it, but he did it anyway, because I never intended on putting that machine back together. So that's what you get here, is you got to learn how to modify, and you got to look at every little move that you're going to make. Because I fashioned an air cleaner out of a spray paint lid, since the carburetor and the air cleaner and the mount here, they were all missing. There she is, and you can see that oddball little mount, and that's why it's still loose, because I'm going to put a piece of all thread through here so I can put my custom-made spray paint cap air cleaner on there. So everybody has to learn somewhere, and that's why I do these informationals on YouTube, because I found a lot of valuable information from folks on there. And I say YouTube is a very valuable tool. It's too bad that people were using it for a communist soapbox and to push agendas instead of push knowledge, and they're repressing knowledge. But at least YouTube is letting some of the truth sayers through, and I think YouTube should continue to do that. Okay, we are not a communist country, and if you want to live in a country where there's bullets flying and you got to be afraid to go to the store, like in other countries where people like Biden have slipped in office, that's my political message. You better think about what's going on. It doesn't sit well with my generation, and eventually we're going to move on Mr. Biden. He's already out the door, 3/4 of the way. Harris is now handling things with Pelosi. So think about these things. They don't make equipment like this anymore, not this quality. This is a real good quality piece of equipment. It really, really is. And it's sad that somebody left it sit to die. I just ordered the fuel cap too. They said they may have it, they may not have it, but I paid for it anyway. And that's about as far as I'm going to go on things. These machines are priceless when you need them, especially a generator. But this, as you can see, the outlet's rusted. They're probably corroded, so I'm going to have to get outlets. We'll find out what we can do, okay? Let's get this running today. That's today's video. Is we're going to get the Baker running And as I said, that is a very quality piece of equipment. It's very well built, unlike other stuff. I disagree with a few things like the crimp caps, and they have them on the axles. I usually drill them out and I'll put a washer in there anyway, because the tires and wheels have to come off of it, and they usually don't survive, or when you put them back on, the wheel's going to come off eventually because they're loose. But that was also a very good quality tire they used on that. That, for almost a 20-year-old machine or 25-year-old machine, that literally doesn't have any dry rot on those tires. So they really use some real good quality stuff, and this construction and the welding and the crimps on the metal, you can tell that this was hand bent. Those were not bent in a machine. You can tell that they were hand cut as well. It's pretty amazing when you look at the technology that they used. But those were manual, although they're hydraulic. A guy actually puts that metal in the machine, lines it up, and bends it himself. I mean, the machine does the bending. It's still the machine, but it was not an automated machine that did it. That was done in like a custom fabrication facility, and that's why it's put together in sections, because those pieces were made all individually. But that's my video, and enjoy the video. I like people when they actually see what I do, and I get a lot of compliments. We'll get back to the Troy belt and the belts. I know that video's half baked, and we'll make a diagram, and it's better to show it on paper sometimes than it is physically on the machine, because it's useful, because a lot of the machines are all the same, especially that one. All right, that's enough for today. I got to get to work.